Got it. Is that better? It's louder, it's not better. So, again, welcome to Sunday service. Let's turn off cell phones and take a few minutes and greet each other. Moments. Say hello to 2 or 3 people. All right. So welcome back to our musicians. I've seen both of you here before a few times. I don't usually fret over what I'm going to share with you on these Sunday morning occasions because it usually just comes to me. But I was looking for alternatives this morning and literally walking out the door, because I needed a different bookmark for my textbook, I picked up this. How about the prayer of St. Francis? Yeah. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Oh, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. So once again, welcome. Join me in the morning chant, followed by this morning's affirmative prayer. Who is giving the prayer? Leslie. All right.
Hold on 1 second. Good morning. Now, I've already checked in with a number of you who have reported to me that you have changed your seat from your... So a number of you are sitting in places you've never sat before. Good job. If you are sitting somewhere where you typically sit, I'm going to invite you to change your point of view by changing your seat to a different place. But in the meantime, whether you're moving or staying, I'd like everybody to stand for the morning song. This is Love Is My Decision. You all know this song. And but Ross is playing it, I think, maybe for us for the first time. So we want to really sing out so that we're reinforcing to him that he's got it right. And you know what? Can we turn the lights up for the first song, and then we'll turn them back down for the meditation? Thank you, Jim. That would be great. So we can really jazz it up. Yeah? You ready to rock and roll? Okay, very good. Let's do it. Thank you, Frank. Love is my decision. You sound good. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide change my mind. Love, bless you, will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Yes, give yourselves a hand. That was beautiful. You may be seated. And you know what? When you give yourselves a hand, I know I said this last week, but let's let it not be anemic. You know, we don't want to acknowledge ourselves in an anemic way, so let's give ourselves a hand. Woo! Thank you. This is a song, and if you don't know this meditation song, we'll start it and you'll get it right away because it's very repetitious. It's a chant. Bear with my singing and we'll be great. Okay? That's it. Whoa, wonderful Spirit. Again. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit. Joy. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour your joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Whoa, wonderful Spirit.
Pour your life in me. Yes, to the one infinite, one ever-present power, this animating, creative principle of all in all. This is the magnificent absolute, and it pours itself in and through everything, and it creates out of itself, and it takes the form of its creation. It takes the form of each one here. It is the life within each one here. The consciousness of this one is the consciousness in and through all creation, and in and through each one here. That there is no separation. The life within this one, the mind within this one, the love within this one pours itself through every single place, every single cell, throughout humanity, throughout the universe. And I know that each one here is an individualized expression of this one, that each one here is a precious center in the consciousness of the Godhood within, and opening up to this Godhood within, opening up to the life which is ever present, which fulfills each one to overflowing, is opening up to the greatest expression of the self possible, the greatest expression of love ever known. That this one infinite life, which pours itself through every circumstance, is embraced and embodied just by thinking about it, just by recognizing it, ignites the divine impulse within each one for the highest and greatest good, for the highest and greatest self-expression of more good, the evolving consciousness, the change in consciousness is part of the divine inheritance for the highest love ever known and expressed. So I accept for each one here the deep resonant realization that there is only one life, and that it is a vibration of the supreme intelligence of the universe, always operating for the highest possible good in and through each one, in and through every circumstance, in and through all of creation. And this one celebrates itself by means of each one here and by means of its creation. And I give deep thanksgiving for the animating life within each one throughout creation. I give deep thanksgiving for the vibration of love that continues to create out of itself new and beautiful and joy and peace. And I give thanks also for the opening that takes place in consciousness right now, which allows for a demonstration of unity consciousness expressed as oneness in and through each one here. And I release my word to the law of mind, which operates on my word as a new creation, ready to be made manifest right now, in this moment, and eternally. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Sing your song in me. Sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, sing your song in me. Sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. This morning we have Ross and Firefly as our special music. And I guess Firefly's on her own for this one, yes? I have known Firefly since before she was born. And so it's really fun to have her here doing music for us again this morning. Let's welcome Firefly Walter.
I had a different song in mind, but after hearing that beautiful prayer of St. Francis invoked, I'm going to sing a song that is that. I invite you to take a deep breath.
Oops. Thank you, Firefly. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? It's a beautiful day, isn't it? I want to draw your attention to Mary Cosgrove's altar this morning because it's so gorgeous. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. And good morning, everybody out there in YouTube land or in Ukraine or wherever you may be watching from. We're delighted that you're with us. And for all those of you here who may be here with us for the first time this morning, turn to the person next to you and thank them for bringing you. And then you're going to see these beautiful ladies are coming forward with packets of information for you. And they just want to give those to you to give you something to know further about us. It's just information. No tracking devices, nothing like that. So just give me a wave if you're here for the first time so they can find you, and they will bring you a packet. Yes, thank you, welcome. We've got somebody in the back there. Yes, great. Be brave. Give a wave. Yes? Excellent. So I want you to know, everyone, all of you, even those of you who heard this before, that we are an eclectic community of people who are progressively growing in our consciousness, and we're delighted to welcome you this morning, whoever you are, wherever you may be on your pathway of faith. You're welcome here. And inside the welcome packet, you will find a blue card that looks like this that says welcome on top of it. If you fill this out and turn it in at the membership table, they'll give you this little book for free, What Religious Science Teaches, which is a little bit more about our philosophy and our beliefs here. And then we hope that we'll see you often in the future. We would love to engage with you and have you be part of our family and community. So welcome. Before I forget, I also want to say Ceci has this month's Science of Mind magazine, and last month's, if you're interested in Christiane Northrup's article. But this month there's one with our spiritual leader for good heavens, this is my mouth this morning, Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, and those are $5. Is that right? And they're roughly, and they're available over from Ceci here at the PowerPoint table. Okay, good. Where's my clicker? Where is my clicker? That's fascinating. Anybody see it? Okay, well, is it there? No. No, it's not there. Thanks, Mark, but thank you. But no, that was good intention. I don't see it. Let's see. Well, that's just fascinating. Well, you know what? Today is all about change. And so I noticed already this morning that... Is it white? No, it's black. It's black. It's a black, looks like a little cigar. Well, anyhow, you know, we've already changed a number of things this morning, and so I guess the universe is going to let me just give Ceci the high sign, and she's going to do the advance for me, because wherever it has landed, we don't know. It'll turn up when we least expect it, I'm sure. So, to start this off right, dare to change. So let's go forward. 100 years of Science of Mind. We are celebrating this whole year that Science of Mind, our spiritual philosophy, has been around for 100 years. It's actually been around for millennia, but our particular name of it has been around since our founder, Ernest Holmes, published his first book 100 years ago. And this month, in October, our own center is focusing on this path that we're on right now. So dare to live the life you came to live. You know, I think if I were the creator and I was looking at the universes inside and outside of form, that I would be doing what the infinite does, which is constantly creating and changing and expressing. Because for an infiniteness, an infinite presence, an infinite consciousness, the act of expressing itself and creating ever new forms and possibilities and individuals and expressions, just ongoingly, constantly, eternally, would be fulfilling and delightful. And so each of us, as a part of that expression, part of our own nature is to change and grow. So we are looking at dare to live the life you came to live, and then today our theme is dare to change. Dare to change. And we've already begun that this morning with the changing of the seats, if any of those people out there, if that happened. And here's an interesting change I want to share with you. An Amish boy and his father were visiting a shopping mall, and they were amazed by almost everything they saw, but especially by two silver, shiny walls that could move apart and back together again. The boy asked his dad, "What is that, Father?" The father responded, "I have never seen anything like that in my life, son. I do not know what it is." And while the boy and his father were watching, wide-eyed, an old lady limping slightly with a cane slowly walked up to the moving doors and pushed a button. The walls opened, and the lady walked in between them and into a small room. The walls closed, and as the boy and his father watched, small circles of light with numbers lighted up above the moving wall. And they continued to watch the circles light up in the reverse direction. And then the walls opened up again, and a beautiful 24-year-old woman stepped out. And the father said, "Son, go get your mother." Unexpected change. Unexpected change. You know, George Leonard, who was the individual who came up with the term the personal growth movement, said that whatever your age, your upbringing, or your education, what you are made of is mostly unused potential. Mostly unused potential. Just like every cell in our bodies is 99% space, think of that. So is our beingness available to greater potential. And the last thing we want to do is bore the infinite. So why not explore the aspects that are possible? So we're in this week now. We can go forward to the next one, Ceci. We're in this week now, the third week of our 8-week adventure in faith together. This is the path to change that Mary Cosgrove has provided us with over here on the altar. And what we're looking at is an exploration of commitment, of making commitments, and then training ourselves to remember the commitments that we're making, to be engaged in them, and to take commitments that make a difference. So, first of all, we need to dare to, yes, and go ahead and hit the next one. We need to dare to be curious in order to look into what the possibilities are, in order to be available and interested and to learn and to change and grow. We also, next one, Ceci, we also need to be courageous because being courageous gives us the opportunity to be aware of a risk, but also to intentionally take an action that forwards a possibility. So we stand in courage on that edge of possibility where we don't quite know what the result will be, and we have to take a risk in order to go forward, but we're aware that it's a risk. And thirdly, we want to be able to change. So dare to change. Dare to change. And when we change, it's a transformative process I'm talking about. It's not the superficial things, although they count because they affect us. You know, when we grow a beard or shave our hair or, you know, whatever it is that we do, cut our hair off or any of those things. When we change ourselves, we introduce ourselves to a new possibility for who we are and what we look like. That's on the most basic level of our appearance. But when we're looking at real transformation, and as adults, this is even more true than it was earlier in our lives, we're looking at the possibility of upending what we believed our lives to be about and who we believed ourselves to be. So we're looking at really upending something, it's like an earthquake, to really enter into transformation. We get, you know, I think naturally we become comfortable over the course of our lives with who we think we are. Lama Surya Das said, "I found out I wasn't who I thought I was. But even now, I'm still not who I think I am. There are no limits to this not knowing, this mystery, this dream, inconceivable and beyond the finite mind. We're so limited by our self-concepts and self-limits." And Ernest Holmes said this wonderful thing that I love. This is our founder, Ernest Holmes. "Nature will not let us stay in any one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. This is a wise provision, for should we stay here too long, we would become too set, too rigid, too inflexible. Nature demands the change in order that we may advance. So we're looking at, there is a certain wildness, there is a certain feralness to our nature that never leaves us, even though we've been well domesticated, as Don Miguel Ruiz would say, we've been well domesticated. At the same time, there is part of us that is not domesticatable. There is a part of us that's connected to the wild infinite, to that sort of infinite, feminine, spontaneous, unpredictable, non-linear, infinite possibilities, sort of space that sometimes looks like the void, but that void, that darkness, is filled with all possibilities. So if there's anything in our lives or about ourselves that we want to change, generally we're going to experience fear first. Because what if? You know, I had a friend when I was in ministerial school who was studying to be a professional photographer because he was really interested in photography. Or actually, he wasn't studying yet. He was working as a contract person for Boeing. But he loved photography. It was really one of his driving passions. And so he had applied to this school to be a professional photographer. And he had paid up front a certain amount of the tuition for it. And then his mind stepped in. You know how that works? So his wildness, in a sense, drew him to make this reach, this potential leap, this application. And he got accepted. And then his mind started talking to him. And it was like, what if you do this? And you go to this place and you spend all this money, and in the end, you're no happier than you are now. And he thought, I don't think I want to risk it. So he asked for the tuition back and he never went. And that kind of thing makes me sad. You know, maybe that wasn't the right path for him. It wasn't the right time. Clearly, whatever needed to be in place for that to be just right for him wasn't there. But it makes me sad to think we let ourselves be talked out of discovering something more. My friend, Father Sean O'Lear, who is this crazy Irish priest, says that he believes that sin is the deliberate refusal to grow. That's all. The deliberate refusal to grow. And sometimes it's our fear, I think, that holds us back from that. Ernest Holmes, in my favorite book of his, Ernest Holmes said, don't delay your good by thinking you have so much evil to overcome. Don't delay your good by thinking you have so much evil to overcome. In other words, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Don't make something too serious. I often find the things that scare me, that I resist doing, when I finally do them, I think, what was the big deal? Does that ever happen for you? I think, what was I putting that off for so long for? I suffered more over the possibility of it being uncomfortable than the actual experience itself. I wasted all that time and energy. Milton Erickson was a therapist and a hypnotist, really, who was able to work with his patients in their psychology in a way that allowed them to move forward without knowing they were moving forward until they discovered the truth. And by that time, they were already there and ready. And he did what were called teaching tales in order to help people understand these ideas. So he tells this story of a man named Joe. Joe was a bad dude. At the age of 12, Joe was expelled from school for beating up other kids in his class, along with vandalism and other assorted misdemeanors. After stabbing his father's farm animals with a pitchfork and setting fire to the barn, his parents took him to court and had him committed to Wisconsin State Industrial School for Boys. At the age of 15, the industrial school paroled him. So this started when he was 12. The really bad stuff started when he was 12. On his way home, at age 15 now, Joe was arrested for burglary and promptly returned to the industrial school where he had to stay until he was 21 years old. By that time, Joe's parents were dead and had disposed of the property, leaving Joe without any inheritance at all. Upon being given a suit and $10 at his discharge, now 21, Joe headed back home again and was arrested again for burglary on his way, and this time was sent to the Young Men's Reformatory in Green Bay. He served every day of his sentence. In other words, no time off for good behavior. After his release from the reformatory, Joe went to the town of Green Bay and was arrested for burglary again, and this time was sent to state prison. And when he completed every day of that sentence, he was released and on his way back home was arrested for burglary again and sent back to prison for another term. We're a slow learner here, obviously. After serving every day of that term, he was released and headed home again. This time, said Erickson, he made it all the way back. And as soon as he walked into town, everybody started saying, "Look out, Joe's back." Sure enough, by the end of his fourth day back in town, some merchants noticed items missing from their stores. Somebody else reported a motorboat that had suddenly disappeared, and everybody knew who the culprit was. Now, it happened that a rich farmer who lived outside of town had a daughter named Susie. Susie was about 5'10", great looking, famous for her dressmaking and cooking, and popular with all the young men in town. But everybody felt sorry for Susie. She was still unmarried at 23, and in those days, that should not have been. Everybody thought that Susie was just too choosy. One day, Susie was on her way into town on an errand, and Joe happened to be leaning up against the front door of one of the stores as Susie was making her way down the street. And when he saw Susie coming, Joe swung around and stood in her path. He looked her up and down very thoroughly and very quietly. And Susie, with equal poise, looked Joe up and down very thoroughly too. Finally, Joe said, "Can I take you to the dance this Friday?" The town had a dance every Friday night, and Susie was much in demand at those dances by all the eligible young men. So when Joe asked her, "Can I take you to the dance?" Susie simply replied, "You can if you're a gentleman." So Joe stepped out of her way and let her go. The next morning, merchants who had reported missing items were pleased to find boxes full of stolen goods back at their front doors. The motorboat that had gone missing was suddenly back where it belonged, and somebody saw Joe heading out of town toward Susie's father's farm. That Friday, Joe and Susie went dancing together, and they danced every dance. Word got around that Susie's dad had hired Joe to work on his farm. They fixed Joe a room in the barn. Joe turned out to be the best worker Susie's dad had ever hired. And every Friday night, Joe and Susie went dancing. Soon the whole community was a-buzzing because Joe and Susie had been seen going for a drive every Saturday night. They started going to church together, and within a year, Joe and Susie were married, and Joe moved from the barn into the house. Joe was still the best hired hand imaginable, and Joe became the best neighbor people had ever known in these parts. Before too long, people began to forget about Joe's convict days. They even elected him to be president of the local school board. And in his spare time, Joe went back to the state reformatory for young men and volunteered to work with young offenders. He brought them back to work on the farm and managed to rehabilitate quite a few of them. And that was when Joe met the renowned hypnotherapist Milton Erickson. Joe ran into him in the hallway one day as Erickson was making his rounds, and Joe told him, "There's an old record at the industrial school you ought to read sometime, Doc, about a guy named Joe." Erickson did read it, and that's how he learned all about Joe. And all the psychotherapy Joe ever received, said Erickson, was, "You can if you're a gentleman." That one sentence changed a man's life. Think of all that he had experienced and gone through up until that moment. And there was something about the statement, or the way it was said, or the person who said it, or the ripeness and readiness to change in his heart and soul that tipped that man over the tipping point and into a completely different life as a person. Not only the neighborhood had never known, but he had never known in his expression of himself. So we see that choosing to change, let's go on to the next slide. Choosing to change requires several things. So let's go ahead and look at them. Go ahead, Ceci. The first thing it requires is the desire to change. When we change for someone else, it only lasts as long as the willpower is holding it in place for that other person, but it's bound to spring loose at some point. But when we desire to change, the willpower operates differently in that situation. So first we need to make that decision and have that desire. And secondly, we need to have an awareness that we have options. So we can go on to that one, yes. We need to have an awareness that we have options, that they exist. In the book In Search of Excellence, Tom Peters, in the very introduction, has a section where he talks about an experiment that was done where two groups of people were given a task to do where they had to add together a bunch of columns of numbers. But that wasn't all. They had to do it in the presence of a tremendous amount of noise because what was being piped into the room was this cacophony of sounds, like a chicken screeching, two people arguing in Armenian, a jackhammer, a bunch of birds flying off excitedly, and about 6 other things. So it was really noisy and chaotic. And one group just had the noise, and they were supposed to do the task. The other group was given a button to push. So they did them as individuals, so it was a lot of individuals in each of these two groups. So when an individual was in the other group, they had a button to push that would turn the noise off. And they knew that they had it and they could use it whenever they wanted to. Now that group did much better at speed and accuracy in terms of adding up the columns of numbers, as you might expect, right? The only catch was none of them ever pushed the button. It was the knowledge that they had the option that made the difference. So we, in order to make a change, have to see that we have possibilities, that there are options to choose from. When we don't know it, it doesn't matter if we have a choice or not. If we're not aware of it or we can't go there, then we don't have options and choices to make. So the second thing that it requires is awareness of options. The third thing is capacity, so the ability to change, and willingness. So it's not enough to desire it. We have to also move past just the desire to the willingness to take the action, and we have to have the ability to take that action in order to change. Sometimes the universe imposes change on us, and we can either resist it and try and stay the way we were, or we can cooperate with it. But if we don't have the capacity or the ability to do what is being asked of us, then it will be a struggle and not a happy one. If we don't have the willingness, we can talk about wanting to change, and we can complain about the difficulty of it, but we never take the actual consistency of action that we need to take to get there. The next thing is we need to have a persistence of vision. So what is it we think is going to be out there when we accomplish that change? What is it we're hoping to experience or become or be when we get there? That vision has to stay in front of us, because when we lose it, the short-term gratification gets easier than the long-term vision of change. So this guy who responded to Susie when she said, "You can if you're a gentleman," he made a choice, a conscious choice, again and again and again and again, to be a gentleman, because it certainly wasn't his habit. So that consistency of vision to be a gentleman, the envisioned, desired reality, got closer and closer until people didn't even remember who he had been before. And lastly, we need to have faith in those possibilities. We need to have faith in those possibilities so that the vision stays strong in front of us, so that we are aware of the more and we don't forget the more that's available to us. So you're with me here so far? Yes. Now, the challenge is that there is a tension between our choice or our desire to change and the actual fear of change. So go ahead and go to the next one. The actual fear of change, the tension between the two. Here's what we're afraid of. We're afraid of the unknown, first of all. because the known is so much more comfortable. We're afraid because there's no guarantee that it's going to be better, like my friend who decided not to go to photography school. And we're afraid of losses. We're afraid we're going to lose something in the change. We're going to lose friends or status or credibility, or we're going to lose things, or we're going to lose ourselves. You know, the danger of getting into a relationship is you lose yourself. The danger of getting into a new job or a new career is that you might not have the credibility and the cachet that you had in your previous experience. So in A Glimpse of Stalking, Elizabeth Gage says, "Did you want to stay what you were forever? Change is what we're made of. We can't grow unless we lose what we once were." So actually, yes, change does bring about loss. It's built in to the process. You have to let go of one thing to go forward into the next thing. When I was a senior in high school, or no, I was younger than that. I was probably a sophomore or a junior. I met a bunch of girls from a different school that we're all feeding into this Catholic high school, right, together. And this particular group of girls had a really sarcastic wit that was very quick. And I wanted to be liked by that group. And so I began to discover that I could be really sarcastic, really fast, and that I got a lot of laughs when I did that. And so I began to do that for a while until I realized that I didn't like me when I was doing that. I was in pain. It might have been funny for other people for me to do that, but it didn't feel good to me. So eventually I stopped doing it because I decided I wanted to be more comfortable with me, and it didn't feel genuine. It became, oddly, for that time in my life, more important for me to like me than for them to like me. Can you relate to this at all? This is yes? Are you sure? Okay, all right, very good. So what we find is that the nature of being is to change. So this is, oh, wait, go ahead. Oh, that's good, that's fine. Oh yeah, never mind, it did what it was supposed to do. Okay, yes. The nature of form is to change. The nature of being is changeless. So, you know, what we essentially are, this nature of being that's changeless, that I am essence, that witness, that awareness consciousness, that doesn't change. It's the same one it was when you were 5 years old. It's actually the same one the person next to you is experiencing when they're thinking, I am. That I amness, that sense of being that is beyond your body or your name or your education or anything else about you, that is the infinite beingness. It's the spirit, the awareness, the one presence within us. And it is saying, I am, I see, I know. And we have stamped it with our own personal experience as human beings, but when we leave this experience, that I amness will take all this along with it, but it is the larger I am, the greater quality. So that changelessness is safe. That changelessness that's who we essentially are is safe. Nothing can damage it or threaten it or harm it. Now, the personalness that lives inside of that has the capacity to be changing all the time. It's the nature of God to change. And so, you know, as we were talking last week about Steve Jobs saying, you can't put the dots together in advance. You can only see the dots in hindsight that led to something. When we make a change, then we have faith that in hindsight, we will have made a good choice. My son is 38 years old now. He is a great dad. He is an amazing dad. When I was raising him, there were many times that I just hoped that what I had said or counseled him to do or not do turned out to be good in the long run, that he would turn out okay. Any other parents out there have this hope, wish, desire, fear, that you wanted to do it right so your kids would turn out okay? Well, I'm grateful. He's incredible. I don't take all the credit for that. I think he himself deserves a lot of credit for becoming the seeds of greatness that were within him, you know? And so when we are evolving and changing, it's safe to experiment with who we think we are. It's safe to go further and learn more. I'm learning from my son now about patience in parenting. and about unconditional love. I don't know how it was for him when I was in that, but watching it is very empowering and instructive for me. So sometimes what somebody says or does in your life has such an impact on you that you remember it forever, even though that person might not know that it was important to you or might not remember that. And that's the thing I think is so important for us to remember, that we have the possibility of becoming this something more. So I want to share this story with you before we do our commitment for today. So be thinking in this moment, are you comfortable making a commitment this week to change, to drive a different route to work, to eat at a different restaurant, to see a movie you normally wouldn't see, to say something when you feel called to do it when you normally would keep quiet, to keep quiet and listen if you're one who always has something to say, to try to change. So I'm going to invite you to just consider the possibilities of change the universe might invite you into this week. And listen to this story. A seminary professor was vacationing with his wife in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. One morning they were eating breakfast at a little restaurant, hoping to enjoy a quiet family meal. And while they were waiting for their food, they noticed a distinguished-looking white-haired gentleman moving from table to table, visiting with the guests. The professor leaned over and whispered to his wife, "I hope he doesn't come over here." But sure enough, the man came over to their table. "Where are you folks from?" he asked in a friendly voice. "Oklahoma," they answered. "Ah, great to have you here in Tennessee," the stranger said. "What do you do for a living?" "I teach at a seminary," the professor replied. "Oh, so you teach preachers how to preach, do you? Well, I got a really great story for you." And with that, the gentleman pulled up a chair and sat down at the table with the couple. The professor inwardly groaned and thought to himself, "Great, just what I need, another preacher story." The man pointed out the restaurant window. "See that mountain over there? Not far from the base of that mountain, there was a boy born to an unwed mother. He had a hard time growing up because every place he went, he was always asked the same question. 'Hey boy, who's your daddy?' Whether he was at school, in the grocery store, or the drugstore, people always asked him the same question. 'Who's your daddy?' He would hide at recess and lunchtime from the other students. He would avoid going into stores because that question hurt him so bad. When he was about 12 years old, a new preacher came to his church, and the boy would always go in late and slip out early to avoid hearing that question. But one day the new preacher said the benediction so fast that the boy got caught and had to walk out with the crowd. And just about the time he got to the back door, the new preacher, not knowing anything about him, put his hand on his shoulder and asked him, 'Son, who's your daddy?' The whole church got deathly quiet. That boy could feel every eye in the church looking at him. Now everyone would finally know the answer to that question, 'Who's your daddy?' This new preacher, though, sensed the situation around him, and using discernment that only the Holy Spirit could give, said to that scared little boy, 'Wait a minute, I know who you are. I see the family resemblance now. You are a child of God.' And he patted the boy on his shoulder and said, 'Boy, you've got a great inheritance. Go and claim it.' That boy smiled for the first time in a long time and walked out the door a changed person. He was never the same again. And after that, whenever anybody asked him, 'Who's your daddy?' he'd just tell him, 'I'm a child of God.'" And the distinguished gentleman got up from the table and said, "Isn't that a great story?" The professor responded that, yes, it really was a great story. And as the man turned to leave, he said, "You know, if that new preacher hadn't told me I was one of God's children, I probably never would have amounted to anything." And he walked away. The seminary professor and his wife were stunned. They called the waitress over and asked her, "Do you know who that man was, the one who just left, who was sitting at our table?" The waitress grinned and said, "Course, everybody around here knows him. That's Ben Hooper. He's the governor of Tennessee." One sentence, you're a child of God. One sentence, or two, I guess, you can, if you're a gentleman, changed lives. What one thought this week would allow you to change, allow you to take the first steps toward a change you really want to make? What idea, what decision, what commitment, what thought would do that? So I'm going to invite the team to come up with the Dare to Change. I dare to change, little commitment slips. Now, if you've been here in previous weeks, you know that in this 8-week program, we have a poster that everybody gets. So if you are new here, you haven't been here the last 2 weeks, there's a poster for you back on the membership table that I want you to be able to get at the end of the service. The way the poster works is this way. It looks like this. And on the left-hand side says the power of intention. And this is the 4 weeks we're in right now. So we did curiosity, we did courage. Today, we're doing change. So you're going to see up here your change form. It says, I dare to change. And what you're going to do is put your name and the date on it. Now, I want to point out to you, you got a program this morning, yeah? Hello? Did you get a program? Okay, good. And so on the second page, you're going to see the names of everyone who made a commitment to courage last week. And there are 73 people who made a commitment to courage last week, and now we have 72 altogether who made commitments to curiosity, because we got another 6 or 7 of those last week. If you were not here either or one of the last 2 weeks, you can also get your commitment for those back at the poster table this morning. So if you're willing to make a commitment this week to explore change, I invite you to sign your card, to date it, and hang on to it, because we're going to put those in with the offering. Now, I do want to say, because I have noticed the last couple weeks, the offering has been astoundingly low. So I want to be sure that I'm clear with you. This is not instead of your offering. This goes along with your offering, all right? So as you do that, you're also going to receive a little affirmation card. And the little affirmation card is yours to keep. And what we do with those, anybody need a pen? Paula has pens. Back here, people need pens on the right. Yes. Oh, okay, click that again. Okay, there's the name and date. Okay, click again. All right, so this is the affirmation for change, and we're going to stand and say this all together when you have yours. And what you're going to do with that is you're going to take that home with you, and Ceci, hit the next one. You're going to put it over here one more time, where change is on your poster. That way, when you put your poster up somewhere in the house where you can see it, or at work, you will know that we are all affirming with you throughout the week this affirmation for change. Can I have a change affirmation, Dave? Do you have the affirmations? Oh, I'll take one of those too. I'll take one of those because I haven't signed mine yet. And then we want everybody have an affirmation? Give a wave or a holler if you don't have one yet. Today is October 7th, 1918. All right, and so I'm going to invite you to stand. I'm going to need a commitment, though, because I can't read the little one. Stand together, and we're going to read our commitment together, our commitment to change, okay? And remember, you're going to turn your little slip in the offering basket when that comes around. So, with me, I flow with the current of life, trusting it to lead me to exactly where I need to be. It is safe to change. Thank you. You can sit down. And so now I want to invite you into prayer, because this is where we turn within and we actually invite the change to take place. I'm going to invite the practitioners to surround the room so that you are enfolded in the consciousness of prayer. Our practitioners are available. The ones at the table are available on Sundays following the service to pray with you. And that's a free service. They're there to support you. But their consciousness now infuses the space. This becomes an extra sacred space in the center. So I invite you to close your eyes and put your hands over your heart. Right here and now. The divine presence that is constantly expressing itself in a multitude, a kaleidoscope of shifting, evolving forms, constantly and continuously. This nature of change is the nature within us. Constantly within our bodies, changes are happening. Constantly within our consciousness, changes can be happening too. So we open to that activity of spirit, welcoming the newness, welcoming new ideas, welcoming new awarenesses, welcoming new opportunities to be grateful, to be connected, to be courageous and curious, welcoming opportunities for transformation and change. And we know this is the divine nature, that it happens automatically, immediately, completely, at every moment. So we welcome it, we recognize it, we see it, we take it in, and we allow the changes to just easily and gently cause to be released from us all that which no longer serves, all that which has done its work and now can go on its way. We let that go easily. And we release this prayer now into the creative law of mind and spirit, which is already in action. The moment we claim it, it is in action. And so we let this word go into the law to do that work of manifestation in us with great gratitude, knowing that this change up-levels us in every way, in body, in mind, in spirit, in form, in finances, in consciousness. And we are joyful that this is true for everyone in this place. We let this word go in love, and we simply let it be, and together we say now, and so it is. Hallelujah, and so it is. All right, thank you. And now, oh, a firefly is up, yes.
Shadows are cast on the wall. Who would believe that it's better to freeze than to let the ice melt into a waterfall? We live in a time where the battlefield is in our minds. The thoughts that block the light are the demons we fight. You always thought it one way, 'cause that was how the path was paved. But old walls can be torn down. Our truth can be found inside. Are you ready to light your spirit candle today? Are you ready to ignite your divine spark? Get ready to light your spirit candle today. Get ready to let your fire burn. Spirit in motion, feel your devotion, roaring like the ocean. Bring into fruition gifts of intuition, sweeping superstition out of the way. To open a succession of authentic expression. Yearning for reunion to make a soul fusion with the Creator. Mother, Father, Maker is always present in every single moment.
Would the ushers please come forward? This is our offering time in this service. If you're here for the first time, your presence is your gift to us. And we invite you to come back soon. The rest of us, please take our pledge cards or our offering and our change card with your name on it. And if you're here with your beloved, you can place your pledge card over both your hearts. Okay, so if you'll say this with me, this gift is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes is going to be a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. My radiant, my radiant, my radiant health. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends.
So all of us together as community do now accept and receive this offering for Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, blessing it and knowing that it is a blessing to everyone whose life it touches from this moment going forward, beginning right here in this room with us. And so it is.
So it is.
Here you go, dear. Let me give you this. Gail, here. So now it's time for gratitudes. First of all, I want to express gratitude to all of you. I know that some of you came up to me this morning and said, I'm inviting guests, I'm bringing guests. I love that. Invite guests, take them out to lunch afterward. Give them something to look forward to after it's all said and done. Or tell them you want to have lunch with them, but you have something important to do first. And bring them along, as somebody said that once happened to them a long time ago. I want to thank our practitioners who are over here at this beautiful practitioner prayer table this morning. This is the place to go after the service if you need prayer. Go and speak to them. They will take you to a private area back here and pray with you. If you come and they're gone, just wait. Somebody will come back. And if you have questions about practitioners, seek out some of the other ones here with their stoles on this morning. They have studied and worked and grown in consciousness to be able to support you in prayer. So we're really happy to have them here. Thank you to everybody who signed up this morning in their commitment for change. That's thrilling and delightful. I'm glad about that. And your names will be in the program next week. Also, today is Partnership Sunday. And so this is the Sunday that we honor our connection. Ceci, you're going to have to do this for me. Yeah, we honor our connection with our sister city in Ukraine. Now, Dr. Barbara Leger was going to be here with us this morning, and an opportunity came up for her to speak somewhere and do the fundraising thing that she does for Ukraine. So she needed to be there to do that. And I don't know, is our Ukraine table up back there today? No. Okay, so be looking for that information because there's more coming up, and there's a little bit, I think, in your bulletin this morning about what's happening, and so pay attention to that, okay? Today, we have the Power of Spiritual Mind Treatment Workshop. This is an introduction to our form of prayer. It's backed by popular demand. Leslie Gianetti, who is here at the prac table this morning, stand up for a second, Leslie, is the creator and facilitator for this 1-hour workshop. Thank you, Leslie. That'll be over at the Learning Center, and I believe there's information about it over here on the education table. Is that right, Leslie? The flyers are over there? And so if you can, sign up so she knows how many people she has coming. It is a love offering basis, and we'd love to have you join her. Also, I want to bring Sue Ruda up to tell you about a special event that is very important to me.
Hi, everybody. I'm here on behalf of Deborah Welch, who is the event producer. And so here are some of the things that we want to, it's Friday, the 19th of October, 7 to 9, right here. Mm-hmm. So the other thing, I'm going to give you a few other ideas. Come wear festive dress. The guys too. No? Okay. And this is a potluck dessert, wine, champagne, coffee reception after. So that means everybody that's coming, eat before. Eat before. The people who are going to volunteer, you're going to need to be here at 4:30. So make sure you eat before because this is not a buffet. Dinner. The ministers are going to wear the robes of practitioners. There's been a request from our minister to please wear your stoles because we'll be sitting, the ministers will be on that side, the practitioners will be on this side. The potluck sign-up sheet is where?
I think it's back on the events table.
Please sign up so we know. And if you want to bring any friends, invite them to bring a potluck thing.
A dessert.
Dessert.
Yeah, you don't have to potluck the champagne and wine.
No, we're doing
just the
that.
Desserts.
And you can do fruit and cheese. You can do things like that if you don't want to just do sweets. And also there is in the back.
No, it's on the education
table. It's over here. Thank you. A fund box. So, and that's for those of you that want to participate, but don't necessarily want to cook, like me. So you can throw in whatever you'd like to do so that you can be part of this celebration. And I guess, have I said it all?
I think you have. And please RSVP so we know how many chairs and all of that, and we can celebrate together. RSVP to Sue or to Deborah. Their emails are up there. And we look forward to seeing you and having a very festive evening together. So put it on your calendar and make sure you're here.
It's going to be
less
very
than 2 weeks
pretty.
away now. It's very exciting. Yeah. Thank you, Sue. That's great. All right, next. On the 21st of October, Reverend Sarah is going to be doing Invent a Session, and that is a special workshop that she did some time ago, actually several years ago, that we want to repeat because it's an opportunity for the community to come together and to have conversations that you're interested in, that you would like to see forwarded. And so she'll tell you how to do it, but it's going to be great fun, and it will be here following the service immediately at 11:15, not today, but on the 21st. Also, this coming Thursday is the Extra Edge. This is Reverend Sarah's monthly gathering to discuss certain topics. And the one she has this month is something like, why settle for less when you can have it all? Which is a good question to discuss, right? So that is going to be at, where did my little piece of paper go? Oh, there it is. There it is. That is going to be at the Emporio Rulli in Larkspur, the Emporio Rulli in Larkspur at 8 a.m. I don't have a slide for it today because I was asleep at the wheel, apparently. So that's why settle for limited when more is waiting for you. That's the topic. So if you have questions about that, please talk to Reverend Sarah so she can update you on how that's going to work. And today is also the 23rd annual Forgiveness Day. Now, this was founded by our own Bob Plath. Oops, oh, I skipped over that one. Founded by our own Bob Plath. And it is being held in Corte, Madera this afternoon, or this evening at 7 o'clock. There's a $25 suggested donation, and they would like for you to RSVP. So if you'd like to participate in the forgiveness gathering, this would be a great opportunity to do that. The one just before this is for PowerPoint volunteers, because we're still looking to get Ceci off the job on Sunday, so she's not working every day of the week. And several of you have volunteered to help or be alternates. Thank you. It's not difficult. So please talk to Ceci if you're interested in that. And finally, if you're a member here and you're a Libra, check out your free birthday practitioner session. You can pick up a flyer over here to allow you to set that up. And we look forward to celebrating your birthday with you. Okay. Also, I want to thank Frank Lange, the welcome man. I want to thank Firefly and Ross for music, and Amanda. Leslie for being my platform practitioner. Gail Durkin for the offering. And I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Oh, everybody over here. Yes, all of our AV team, Jim Homa for setting up, Dana, Tom, Ron, and Ceci, thank you, all the good folks there, everybody that brought food today. Who else? And the altar, Mary Cosgrove, once again, incredible job. And anybody that was here for the children today, too. Who else have I forgotten? The Sunday morning team, my goodness, and they do everything back in the background. Did somebody greet you this morning and give you a program? Let's hear it for the Sunday team this morning. I always forget to thank them. And they're probably in the...
And for anyone that wants an early start to talk to the Hero Forgiveness, Carmen is right here with us.
Oh, wow, the Hero for Forgiveness. Wow, congratulations and thank you for being here this morning. Yes, thank you so much. I remember reading that article. That's wonderful that you're here. Thank you, we're very honored. So the International Forgiveness Day is today, and Carmen is the honoree, and that's a great thing for us to know and to be able to congratulate you for. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. So everybody now, I invite you to please stand and join with me for the benediction and the closing song. You take hands with one another. And we lovingly say to our Ukrainian friends and to all of us here, I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally, and so it is. This is a nice closing anthem. It's in